Hello, everyone. I'm Solid Blue's sister, and this is my co-host Bob Ramu. He loves that thumbs up. And today we were talking with Tuddles, who is a fellow podcaster from the platform Podbean, and we just had a friendly chat with him. And the conversation took us here, there, everywhere, and I thought it went well. It was also good to finally meet him face to face. So,
Yeah.
Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, it was good. That's what I said at the end there. It's always good to put a face to the name. And Tuddles has been someone that I've heard not too many times, but anytime that I do hear him, I'm always like, that guy's good to listen to. First and foremost, he's a nice guy. You can tell
Mhm.
that straight away. And an interesting guy. He can pretty much talk about anything. And I'm sure if you guys go on to listen to the show, you'll see we pretty much did talk about everything, which was good. I think our shows can be, you've often said it's sometimes good to change it up and do a less serious topic,
Mhm.
or something lighthearted. And we also do want to just bring on fellow podcasters and give them just chat and see where the conversation takes us. So that's what we did tonight, and thanks to Tuddles for coming on and providing us with another great show.
Well, the conversation did take us in different places. We started off with talking about Canada and ended up talking about ghosts and dinosaurs and the
Yeah,
Bible. So,
yeah,
Noah's Ark. So we
yeah,
we were all over. So
yeah.
so yeah. So
We could give him and Q Bella their show a plug. We are going to have them on. Their show is called Talk Hard, I believe.
mhm.
I've heard it a couple of times. Solid's actually sent me the two shows in particular that I knew. Well, Solid knew I would like, which was they did one on Flat Earth and they did one on Adam and Eve and Lilith, which
Mhm.
was a great show. So if you go on and listen to the show, we've asked them to come back and we'll pick a topic and we'll explore it, and that should be good. So guys, check out the Talk Hard podcast on Podbean.
And they are on Thursday evenings.
Okay,
So you guys want to check them out. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. And again, thank you to everyone who was in the chat. So
yeah. Bye,
thank
guys.
you. All
Cheers.
right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Today, we are going to talk with the one and only Tuddles. So, Tuddles, welcome, welcome. I am
Hey,
Solid
everybody.
Blue Sister, and this is my co-host, Bahram Yu. So, he always does his little
Hi.
thumbs up.
Hi, guys.
So you guys, we're just going to have a friendly chat with Tunnels and see where the conversation goes. So, Tunnels, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? You can tell us as much or as little as possible, or as
Well,
much
I'm
as you want,
Tuddles.
rather.
I'm Tuddles. I'm from Canada. I don't really know much to say. I podcast sometimes, and I run into these guys on the pod beams there. We all sort of seem to get along most of the time, so figured, let's do a show, see what happens.
The key word there was most of the time.
You can't get along with everybody all the time.
This is true. This is true. So, guys, hold on. I'm just going to adjust my camera resolution for a moment. And there, I think that's a little better. All right. So, um, Tuttle, so since I'm your next door neighbor over, I've been to Canada a couple of times and I actually like it. If you were to can you recommend any particular place in Canada that would be like the ideal spot for, you know, um, raising a family, or if you were single or just married, or
It just depends on what you're into because we're so diverse. You could have the metropolitan like Toronto, which is like the equivalent of the Canadian New York. Or you could go out west where it's more chill, like being in California, with the better weather. There's not really ever any snow out there. It's sort of more of the relaxed vibe out there. A lot of van lifers go out there and people who don't like snow. Or if you want to really rough it, you just go in the northern, like Ontario, and build your cabin in the woods and live off the land. So you pretty much here, you can choose where you want to be and what you want to do.
so I am someone. I don't like living in big cities, and my town. I mean, even though some people may think that it's big, but it's only about 70,000 people. Um, and I live around a lot of cows and farms. In fact, where I live is pretty much dairy land. So a lot of milk and everything comes from where I live, whatever. But if I were to go someplace where there just weren't a lot of people, but there's still stuff. So is
Yeah.
that more on the western side? You said where like California?
No, that's sort of like where I live. Like, I live in a city. It's been growing because our house rates were cheaper than whatever, so people are commuting for like 2 hours a day to get back and
Wow.
forth to the big city for work. But like where my dad lives is about 30 minutes from me, and that's nothing. He goes 20, 30 minutes either direction. You could go to a Walmart or Canadian Tire, any grocery store. So, but he's surrounded by corn and cows. There's a lot of cows
Okay.
out in his area as well.
Okay. All right. So I know Bob was talking at one point, I think on the show with Scooter, that you were talking about moving to Canada or something. Did I get that
Me?
right? Yeah. Did you say that like
No.
at one point you want a Texas or something, and then or
Oh
Canada?
no, it was my friend
Oh,
back
okay.
in 2014. He was offered the chance through his work to work over in either Trinidad and Tobago or Canada, and he asked us all in the group chat our opinions. And I think there was like 10 of us, and I think 9 of us said surely you would go to Canada. And he's like, really? Because I'm thinking about going to Trinidad. He's like, the weather and all that. And I was like, well, the weather is probably the only pro, but surely like Trinidad's a poor country. But he ended up going, and he fell in love with this Trinidad girl, and he lived a really good life for 5 or 6 years. They ended up getting married, and he now lives in Texas. So it's been good to see that kind of, from our point of view, who most of us don't leave our, like, I'm from a really small town, and I've ventured out and I now live in the biggest city in Scotland, and to get a sample of that type of lifestyle. But there was one that I wanted to touch upon. I know you're a prepper from listening to you on some other shows, and
Yep.
my wife and I are really interested in going tiny. The Tiny Home Nation show that you see on
Yep.
Netflix.
Minimalism.
We watched that about maybe 5-6 years ago when we first met, and it's really grasped us. And we actually went and stayed in one about 3 months ago. We went and stayed in one for the weekend and got a quote on how much they were and customizable. And I think the biggest issue that we have is finding land, because I was under the impression you could just go and park on like a caravan site and pay maybe £200-300 a month. But the prices of that here in the UK is like £600 a month, which is, you can get a 2-3 bedroomed home for that. You know what I mean? So the guy was saying that there are ways to do it where you can just basically, there's land here in the UK, I don't know if it's the same as America, that is maybe owned by kings and queens way, way, way back. And they're all gone now, and this land is derelict
Yep.
and owned by no one. And the safest way, they say, is buy an old car for $200, whatever, set it on that piece of land with a sign with your mobile number on it, and leave it there for like 6 months to a year. And if you don't get any phone calls, the chances are it's yours to take. So after that, you could go and set up stock. When they still advise you not to go building like brick and mortar, because you could still get questioned after it. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to buy one of these tiny homes or caravans, you can basically park that there, start growing your own food, and within, I think it is a long process. It's like after 7 or 8 years, you can go to the courts to claim it. And then that process takes a couple of years. I think all in all, it's like a 12-year process, but it's free, other than the court fees, which I don't think are much. After 12 years, you could own that piece of land. So it's interesting, but it's that's something that's huge. And it's became more big because of COVID, because people losing their homes, people losing their businesses, and realizing that, the cost of living in the world right now, and to live tiny and be able to lift your home and go somewhere else on the drop of a hat is very appealing. I've had 20 jobs since I've been 16 years of age, and it's not through any fault of mine. It's just the way the industry is. I'm a
Yeah.
welder, and that's a huge pull for me, is to be able to lift your home and go somewhere else is a huge bonus. So I don't know if you can talk a little bit about the prep and stuff for us, and what you're into.
I think I just determined I'm going to move to Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we do have what they call crown land around here, but it's all been sold off, backhanded, for people to make money. So we don't have anything like that around here anymore. Like you can't even hunt in my area because all the crown land that you're allowed to hunt on is all like gone now. Somehow it ended up being owned by people. You have to drive about 4 hours up north for that type of stuff. But around here, tiny homes, they're cool. I like them. My family's too big to do anything like that with the 7 kids. But I have lived a minimalist lifestyle in the past before I met my wife. I lived in my van for 18 months down by a river, and I just loved it. I I've had everything and I've had nothing, and it's actually easier to be happy when you have nothing because then you're not worried about anything. Like
Yeah.
it's the
Me
simplest
too.
things. Like I didn't have a 65-inch TV. I had my laptop. But with my laptop, I could do internet stuff. I could watch movies on it. I could edit videos on it. It just you're basically breaking down this big pile of useless crap and
Hmm.
boom into that. Like I
Yeah.
lived off of I bought a $10 hibachi from Walmart, man, and a big bag of charcoal was like $8. I can make 40 meals for $8 on a barbecue. And that's not buying fast food. That's like good, healthy food, like you're doing it yourself. You're prepping it yourself. You know what's in it.
Yeah.
So,
I totally get what you're saying there. Like I owned my own home. I bought one when I was 23, and I've just sold it last year because my wife and I moved away. I was renting it out up in my hometown, and the tenants left. So it was a constant worry, and we knew we were never going to go back and live there. So we put it on the market, and having that money in the bank is a constant worry. Like just what you said, it's like I don't want to have to worry about, spending it. It's like sometimes when you have nothing, it's people can be more happier. But
well, at
um
that point, I owned a 5-bedroom big house, and I
mhm,
just walked away from it. I rented it out to a family. I gave them a really good deal that covered the house, and I just went and did my own thing. The
nice.
whole time I lived in my van, I owned like a big house, and I didn't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So, Tuddles, when you, I mean, do you prep like in terms of storing food? I mean, having food stores and things like that, where you can where you rotate your food out and you constantly store and what have you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had.
we have one whole room dedicated just to food.
Okay. All right. All right. So, do you think that prepping is something that people should start doing now just because of the climate of the world?
I think people should have started 10 years ago.
Okay. All right.
And I'm not
All right.
saying to be rude, but to be honest, we're sort of in that wave where everybody ran out of toilet paper, all the stores. I didn't have to go and knock anybody out for toilet paper because I already had 400 rolls put away in my special closet.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't bought in toilet paper since COVID started.
And you make a good point because I don't know. I guess I can say that I've been a prepper, but I just never really knew the terminology for it. But you know, I've always been a person that when I buy stuff, I don't just buy one thing. I'll buy like 20 of them, whatever. Because especially if you know that you're constantly going to use it, and
Yeah,
toilet paper was the thing that I don't think that we had an issue with toilet paper either. So people just Jester made a comment when he said people don't realize what they need until until the need is there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yep.
just like my dad, um hello Hanny, and hello Roxy, hello.
Uh-oh.
So
We, we got an audience.
welcome guys. So you know why do you think people just don't do it? I mean, why do you think people like at the last minute they're like, "Oh my god, I need to, I need a shovel because we're about to get, 30 inches of snow." But yet you knew that you live in a place where
Yeah,
it snows.
I live in Canada from Halloween till May 2-4 weekend. There's always the threat of snow.
Mhm.
That's a fact. You're gonna get snow some point in the middle there. But a lot of people, they just don't think about it. They're just too busy with everything, and they don't realize that there's a problem until it's right in their face. No
Yeah,
forethought, no common sense.
yeah, but if you I mean, and that makes sense. But again, common sense would tell you that if you know that you live in a place where there could be a flood or there could be a fire or something, maybe you shouldn't build your home there, or maybe you should take, okay, for instance, California, um, with these fires, um,
Yep.
people are told constantly if they live in a certain area that is prone to fires to keep the brush away from their homes, to keep it back a certain amount of feet, whatever. People
Yep.
still don't do it. But then here comes this fire. Then all of a sudden it's like it took my home, whatever. But yet you help fuel the fire.
Yeah.
So, you know, so would you have a recommendation for anyone in terms of how they should get started?
It's a case by
Oh,
case thing. It just depends on your climate, right? Like my the stuff that I do here in Canada would be totally different than what you would do in like California, right?
mhm,
But the good thing always, you need water, you need
mhm.
food, you need shelter. The three basic things. So when you go grocery shop and you see something on sale that you normally need, it's almost an investment. If you spend, okay, can of soup, $5, that's ridiculous pricing, whatever, $5. If you go to the grocery store and it's on sale for 2 for $5, buy the two.
Right.
Put that extra one away. So
Yeah.
the next time you need a can of soup, instead of going to the store buying that $5 can, you have that $2.50 can there, and you save $2.50. Like prepping's
Mhm.
almost can be an investment as well. Like people play the stock market, but it's easier to go to the grocery store and find something on sale for 50% off. You stock up on it, and then you're only spending half the amount that everybody else is paying on food.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's one of my systems of what I do. And like if you have a family and say, "Oh, it's going to be," I know it's nice to do restaurant stuff, blah blah blah, but if your family and you're dedicated to spend $100 to taking your family out to a meal, do you really want to do that? Like, I can make anything at a restaurant at home taste better than at the damn restaurant for like, I don't know, even we'll say if we go fancy, a quarter of the price. But if you had that $100 that you were going to spend at that restaurant that day, when you go to the grocery store to buy what you need for that dinner, you still spend that $100. But you buy what you need for your meal that day, but then you buy a bunch of extra shit that you see on sale that you know you're going to need in the future. So boom, you
Mhm.
spent $25 on the dinner and you got $75 worth of preps.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I want to welcome Ralph William Podcast and Beans and Weenies. Hello, guys.
Loonies and
Hello.
toonies and king cans.
So, do you
See,
have a garden?
Oh yeah,
Okay. All right.
I grow vegetables all year round. We do
Okay.
microgreens, and we have a greenhouse in our house, and then we have a shelf system in our kitchen where I grow lettuce all winter.
Okay. Well, I definitely want a greenhouse, but I have a
mhm,
pretty awesome garden that I've had for about 7 years, and I very rarely go to the market to buy any type of veggie. So
mhm,
yeah. So
Yeah, we do a lot of tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that. So in the fall, we can tomatoes and can make pickles. And my wife does a lot of neat stuff, salsas and everything. And then there's
mhm,
certain vegetables you can freeze, like okra. Like okra freezes so good, but when you harvest it, you don't wash it. You harvest it,
okay.
put it in a Ziploc bag, make it as airtight as possible. You pop it in there 6 months later, it's still good.
Okay.
You'll have to, of course, wash it and then prepare it, but the whole trick is not to wash it.
So do you raise fish?
No, no, but I go fishing a lot.
Okay.
Can I just say, I'll add this. This is going to sound, I hope I'm not the only one, but see, when my wife used to watch Doomsday Preppers on Netflix, this show, and I used to come in and just think these people were insane. I thought, because to me, it was like, are they thinking that there's going to be a zombie apocalypse or a nuclear bomb or something? But I never thought about what you guys have just spoken about. I mean, I have since, obviously, since I've met you, listened to you and Jester, that it's common sense. It's being sensible, not just, you know. And I've even said to Roxy, after even with what we've been through in the last couple of years with COVID, that these people that I laughed at are the ones that are laughing now. They're going to be
Mhm.
like, well, you were warned, we told you. But even just like what you said there about the tin of soup, it's common sense. It really is.
I haven't had to buy an N95 mask this whole time.
Yeah.
I just had to go into my tote that's been sitting there. That when I seen this, we have like it's a store you go into. They sell tools, they sell small engine stuff and paint and everything like that. It's called Princess Auto, and they had a section of safety gear. So N95s were on clearance one time a few years back. I filled up a fucking Tupperware tote with them. I haven't had to buy a mask since COVID started.
Mhm.
Well, I can honestly say, with all the masks that I've purchased, I think I'm good for probably the next 10 or 20 years. So,
Well, see, that was the scary thing to me when COVID first started. I only had, I think, 5 hazmat suits. So then I went to that place that sells them because the painters around here have to wear them as well, so the paint, doesn't get on you. They were sold out, and that's when I realized, oh shit,
Mhm.
I only had 5. I wish I had more. I ended up not using any of them, but at that point, we didn't know how severe the
Mhm.
stuff was going to get, right? So,
mhm.
like, I got
So
a cheap, easy prep for people is go to the dollar store for your kids because some people are saying
Yep.
COVID was coming in your eyes.
Yeah.
So you go to the dollar store, you buy swimming goggles. You know those
Mhm.
swimming
Yep.
goggles kids wear in the
I know
pool.
what you're talking about. Yep.
I bought a whole box of them. Cost me like $12.
so are you one of those preppers? That's a bit like, do you believe in like zombie apocalypse or some apocalypse is going to happen, or are you just doing it because it's sensible and clever? Like, are you just,
It's just
it's a
smart
habit,
living
smart
because the
living? Yeah.
doomsday doesn't even have to be a natural disaster. Like you're working, you got your mortgage, blah blah blah. Stuff happens, you lose your job. Instead of
Mhm.
having to be scrambling for food, just you go in your pantry.
Right.
Yeah.
That just takes a little bit of pressure off your family. It's
Mhm.
Yeah.
nothing that the old school people didn't do. Back in the old days, the settlers didn't have a fucking 7-Eleven to go buy a pack of nachos. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They had to
Yeah.
come in. They spent their summers hunting, tanning, curing the meat, putting it up for winter, and then that's how they lived. And
So,
Awesome.
to be honest, and this is something me and Jester have issues over, I actually don't even use the term prepper anymore because, as far as I'm concerned, since COVID, there's no more prepping. We're actually living in a scenario right now.
Mhm.
so where
Yeah.
when did the term prepper start? Because didn't it? Because wasn't it called something else?
Well, you have homesteading. That's a big one. Homesteading is a big one. That's like people who like have their gardens, and that's more up my alley. And then you have the other ones that are like the outdoor survivalist people, right? But I actually know half the people that were on that Doomsday Prepper show, and all these scenarios that they gave these people were actually from the producers of the show. Like the one guy specifically I've dealt with for a long time, his name's David Sardi. He had the biggest prepping channel on all of YouTube. They wanted his thing to be an EMP. So he went out in his backyard and made some bullshit Faraday cage just for the show. But he believes in it, but it's not anything he was ever stressed about.
Okay. All right.
But it was like the producers putting it out that, they got to make ratings, right? It's like Orange County Choppers. There always had to be drama on the TV show.
So, being in Canada, okay, and again, I'm your next door neighbor, and Bai's across the pond. Do you see any similar things between, like, I'm going to say the word. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it.
Say it.
Politic wise, just in terms of like, do you, okay, because Bob always says that people in the UK follow what is going on here. Do people in Canada follow what is going on here? Like,
everybody in the world pays attention to the States, because what you guys do in the United States affects the world more than any other country in this world.
okay, all right.
America is the world stage.
So
Yeah,
do
it is.
do you like follow what's going on in the UK? And Bob can say the same thing. Do you follow, I mean, just anything, just anything. Do you all like
We
follow
hear
what's
we hear even less about Canada than we do about America. I actively follow what's going on in America. Our news here, the BBC, the main, it basically is just the BBC. There are smaller news platforms, but at the end of our show, or sometimes throughout, depending on how serious it is, we'll get a little bit about what's happening in America, or if it's world government news, what's happening in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, the last 20 years. Most of the time it's about that, but during like election times, you'll get a little piece from the debate, or but it seems to be America are like, we follow what happens. So you guys will pass a law, we'll be about a month behind you. We follow you guys. Whatever happens in America, we're just toddling behind.
The average Canadian knows more about American politics than they know about about Canadian politics.
Okay.
And that's not a joke. You go walk down the street and ask who's the president of the United States, they'll know. You ask them who the prime minister of Canada is.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. They'll know. Like currently, our current climate with Justin Trudeau is making that be a bit of a bullshit statement because he's such a dude, But in general, on average, when we don't have Justin Trudeau as our prime minister, people would know the United States stuff more than the Canadian stuff.
That's interesting, because here, when they do that, people on the street stuff where they go up and ask people, stuff, it's like they'll say stuff like, well, do you know who is the VP? And they don't know, or, and this is with anybody, or who was Washington. What? It's like they really don't know. So
I wouldn't have known unless it wasn't through school. It was me actively getting into the subject, like getting into politics, and I actively had to. And it's the same here in the UK. You go out on a night out with your friends and you bring up politics, you're getting a slap. It's like, leave that. This is boys' night. We're talking about football, women, it's just men things. And if you bring up COVID or who's the president, who's the prime minister, what's going on, you get beat down. It's a no-no.
That's what's like too. Like me and my friends were, we're Canadian rednecks, race cars, RC cars, demolition derbies, hunting, fishing, camping, stuff like that. It's only in certain circles where I get into politics, and that's usually people on like podcasts and my prepper community, like a few people that I have. I have my own little prepper network, like a few people, because I got a pretty big family. So I have my family, and then my ex-wife and her husband's in our like prepper community, my sister, my brother-in-law, stuff like that, right? So we get into politics and stuff. And my ex-wife's husband, he's an ex-military information technology specialist. So he monitors stuff for me, so I don't have to pay much attention to stuff anymore. Like, we knew COVID was happening and going to be locking everything down about October of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Because currently he's working for the government making computer programming for schools and stuff. Him and my brother work together. They had this mass email. Any projects you're working on that's going to advance homeschooling, prioritize that. Boom, get all this homeschooling shit ready. We knew homeschooling was coming before they closed the schools down. I've been on lockdown since December of 2019, though, officially.
That's interesting because I teach children overseas. I teach English to children overseas, and when all of it started happening, and I started seeing my students walk around in masks and what have you, I told my husband, this was back like around September of 2019. I said, "This is coming here. This is coming here. So you need to be prepared." So when it hit and everything started coming out, they're saying, "Oh, we only have this many." I'm like, "Yeah, we have more than that, whatever." But you knew that it was coming.
When my kids went back to school in September, I had already been hearing whisperings and stuff like that. So when they would come home from school, I'd make them wash their hands and put on hand sanitizer and all that stuff before I'd even let them like come in and commingle with the smaller kids and stuff. I hope that doesn't sound bad, but you got to keep sanitary, right? Like,
Tuddles, that does not sound bad. I am a germaphobe, and one thing that you cannot do when you come in my house, is, well, put like this: if you live here, and we had to do this when we were young. You come in the house, the first thing you do is wash your hands because you touch everything, and people, and it amazes me how many people touch their face. And it's like, I don't do that at all, because growing up, my mother would say, "Don't touch your face. Don't touch your face." Whatever. Don't
like a Ricky Bobby interview. What do I do with my hands?
Right. So, but yeah. You said something I want to ask you about, but it will come back to me. But if you had your choice, other than Canada, to live anywhere in the world, and don't think about the money thing or whatever, just any place in the world that you would want to live, where would you live? And Bob, that's the same question for you too.
Can you go the place where they shot all the Lord of the Rings movies?
I never saw any of those movies.
What's that?
Is that Ireland? Ireland?
No, it's the other place that's not Australia.
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Yeah.
New Zealand. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Bob?
That sounds good. Up until this year, I was saying Poland for a while, for the reasons of they politically aligned with me more, and I like their president or whatever he's called. But obviously, what's happened this year, no. So I think Italy, southern Italy, sounds amazing. Me and the wife just love that chilled kind of living on a lake somewhere in a nice lodge made out of wood, fishing every day, like just living that life, living self-steading. Was it homesteading?
Okay.
And the weather obviously would be a big bonus because I think our climate's the same as yours, Tuddles. We get summer usually is a Wednesday in Scotland. That's it.
No, we get a hot summer here. We get a bad winter and we get a
What
hot
do you?
summer. And my
Okay.
humidex level here is one of the worst in North America because we're surrounded by the Great Lakes. So
Oh, nice.
I'll go from negative 30 in the wintertime to like positive 40 in the summertime.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's Celsius. You guys work Celsius.
Yeah, same as you over there, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, here our winters are like -10, negative. I wouldn't say they could go much more than that, but they're always the wind chill here because we're a little island compared to you guys. It's always windy, and then in the summers have got better as I've got older. The last 3 years we've had really good summers, but the highest temperature I think Scotland's ever seen would be mid to high 20s, like 27, 28 would be amazing.
Another good reason to move to Scotland. I hate
Yeah.
sweating my ass off in the summertime. I hate it.
Yeah.
Wait, so the warmest that it gets all year round is what is the temperature?
In summer, like from June to August, you could see it's usually high teens, 18, 19, 20, but you can see days that are high 20s. That they're very rare. And in the winter it's like 0 pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Freezing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See,
Beans
all
and
right.
Weenies also just mentioned, don't forget the lake affects snow out of nowhere. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we get like freak blizzards. Well, I guess they're not freaks. We live in Canada and there's supposed to be snow, all the time. But yeah, lake affects snow. It's bad, especially coming off Lake Erie. Yeah, it gets really bad.
Well, having lived in the Midwest, by Lake Michigan, yeah, that the weather was one reason that made me move out west. I couldn't deal with the cold weather anymore, even though I do like the cold weather around Christmas.
That's
So.
my only time I like snow.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Christmas
all right,
time.
all right.
So can I ask you a little bit about your show that you're doing with Cubella Talk Hard? Because I've been trying to catch it, and the last 2 shows that I've had sent to me by Solid Blue were the Flat Earth one you had, and I loved it. I loved listening, and then the other one you had was Lilith, Adam and Eve and Lilith. You did a show
Yeah,
on
Adam
that,
and
and that
Eve,
was
the Garden of Eden. It was
Yeah.
called Who's Your Mama?
yeah.
It's different
So
theories,
that
different
show
people
sounds
stuff.
really good. It sounds something that I would be really interested in following up. But how long has that been going, and how many episodes, and what is your plans going forward?
Well, me and Cubella, we were podcasting together as partners for a long time, and then we had problems and stuff like that, so we quit for a long time. And then she started working these new jobs and stuff, so she was really busy, and we just had never gotten back around to it. Started talking about it, I think 6 weeks ago or so, doing it, and then finally one week it's just like, put up or shut up. Let's just do a show and see what happens, right? It's just an excuse for me and Cubella to hang out online, to be honest, because me and her are good friends, and it's time to just shoot the shit and have some of our other friends up with us, and we pull a topic and see what happens.
Well, you guys, the people that you have coming in, they really get into the topic, because that Lilith show, that one was really, really good, so.
Yeah, Pine's pretty smart. I'm smarter than I act on the show, but I just lay back in the cut and let the smart people talk until I have to talk.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I got that with the Flat Earth one. You kind of let people roll, and that was the first time I'd came across that guy Pine. I don't know how long he's been on Podbean for, but since that show, I've kind of caught his show a couple of times. With the time difference here, I do miss a lot. But there are a lot of people that are very interested in that show for sure. Is one that I'm going to be staying tuned with. It sounds.
It got
really...
a lot of downloads. It's just the title, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I invited Mark Sargent on because I had worked with Mark Sargent on something else in the past, but he basically just snubbed me off and didn't even respond to any of the messages I sent.
I've heard that.
So who comes up with the titles, or who comes up with the subjects? So you come up with the subjects and titles, and
I'll come up with an idea. I'll send it to Q. She'll say yay or nay.
okay.
And sometimes when she says nay, I'm like, okay, but it can be this, this, and this. Okay, that makes sense. And then I'll hunt around, find a little weird songs, and I'll run them past her for the intro. And she says yay or nay. And sometimes she challenges me. Oh, you're just being lazy. Find something that nobody's heard before. Like on the Giants episode, that song, I actually came across this dude Z. He's a Christian rapper on YouTube, and the David and Goliath rap song was just, it was awesome. I actually subbed him. I listened to all his music. I'm not like in the Christian church things or anything like that, but his topics are cool, and he's a good rapper. And I wouldn't have found him if it hadn't been for Q challenging me to go above and beyond and find something different, right?
Okay.
So
can you give us a little sneak peek of what next week's show is going to be about?
we don't determine it until Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
So it's on. Yeah, we determine by Tuesday what our show is going to be on. We sort of listen to the climate and conversations and some stuff on what's going on and on the Podbean world and what people are talking about that's just a little bit outside. We did the flat Earth because we were on the Joe Antonio show and somebody just mentioned it. So I said to Q, there's our first episode of Flat Earth. She said, perfect. And then we went for it.
And Bob, you weren't on that
It
show
wasn't.
live?
No, I was ready to say, not guilty. Not guilty.
Me and Q have a very big, broad base of knowledge because a lot of people don't really know Q as well as I do. She's actually one of the most deleted off Twitter people in Twitter history under different handles. She's big in the conspiracy world. She's one of the smartest people I know, believe it or not. And I've been doing conspiracy podcasts in background, doing research for people and stuff for 4 or 5 years. And in prepping, I used to have one of the biggest channels on YouTube about 15, 17 years ago. But it all got taken down. I was actually one of the victims of the first adpocalypse.
Gee.
So do you guys in that world think that word is a problem? Like, don't use that word?
No.
What word?
Conspiracy. No, I'm talking about conspiracy.
Oh, the conspiracy?
Yeah.
It's a catchphrase. It's a title, you know.
But do you think that when people hear that word, the first thing they're going to say is, "Oh Lord, here we go." You know, so that's why I'm saying that if you were to, use a different term, do you think people would be more accepting?
No, because you'd still get pigeonholed no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do need to stop. I do it on your show, even Solid. I know I do, and it's just a nervous kind of, because I know if I don't say it, people are going to think it anyway, so I just say it. But I said it on a show with, it was actually Natalie, who we had on with Roxanne. Remember Natalie from Spirit and Coffee? I interviewed her, and she didn't like me calling myself a conspiracy theorist. She says, you need to get away from that term. You should call yourself a truther, because we're all searching for truth. And whenever you say the word conspiracy, especially when I do it in the way I do it, where I start my sentence by saying, yes, guys, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe this. They're just instantly going to hear that word and switch off, or the eyes will roll. But what people don't realize is a lot of these, I mean, you might not even know this, but the term conspiracy theory was coined by the CIA, and it wasn't too long ago. I think it was under George Bush Jr. Someone from the CIA came out and said, these are conspiracy theorists and all that. But when you break it down, conspiracy, it happens. Two people conspiring is what a conspiracy is. And that happens. Yeah. Everyone agrees it happens. And it definitely happens in the government. And then theory is just theorizing that something has happened. So there's no woo-woo about it. It's just what the issue is, because the media aren't telling you what I will tell you. It's like, where's he getting that from? And if you take COVID in particular, I was speaking to a guy last week at work, and I was telling him, look, do you know how much people have died in Scotland alone? And I told him the figure, and he's like, really? That's not a lot. And he's like, where are you getting that number from? And I says, the same place you're getting your numbers, the government website. And he's like, oh, I'm going to have to go home tonight and look at that, because if that's right, then I need to rethink. And I was like, that's all I want you to do. I was like, I'm not making things up, or, there are conspiracies like Bigfoot and aliens and things that you need to put two and two together and come
I'm
up
a
with your own
Bigfooter.
conclusion.
I'm
Yeah.
a Bigfoot guy. I've seen Bigfoot in real life.
Have you? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, there's our next topic.
You want to get into it one day? I'll definitely dive right into that topic.
Yeah,
I would be talking about that
cool.
shit.
But yeah, just to finish off, so this is what I'm saying by conspiracies. It's when you talk this way, the reason why people are off-putting is because they're not hearing it from their TV, whether it's their news or their president or their prime minister. So it sounds weird, but that's the only issue.
So
I don't consider conspiracy theory stuff anymore. I just call it common sense. Yeah. Believe nothing that you hear and only half of what you see.
Yeah.
But everyone still has the right to decide what they want to believe and not believe. So, okay. So Roxy is saying we need a Bigfoot episode now. So you want to talk about Bigfoot, or?
Well, save it for an episode, but give us a little bit. Give us a little bit, though.
So give us a little taste. You give us a little taste.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I seen a Bigfoot. It was about 3 a.m. It was one of the scariest situations I ever in my life. The most terrifying moment. I've had lots of scary moments, including falling through ice and surviving. This trumped it all. People say, why don't you take a picture of it? That's the last thing in your mind. The sight, the smell, the feel, just the pure anxiety that it gives you. And then you don't tell anybody about it. You go camping with some random people. Well, not random, like my sister and her family, because my dad's got kids from different women. And you're sitting around a campfire months later and you say, hey, have you ever seen anything weird around Port Robinson area? And without even queuing or anybody knowing anything about anything, your sister's mother saying, oh, the Bigfoot.
Wow.
Because my sister's mother lived about 3 blocks from where I seen the Bigfoot.
Okay. That's interesting.
And there's the whole thing on migration and them following waterways and stuff, if you get into actual Bigfoot lore. And my work backed onto the Welland Canal, which is part of the St. Lawrence Seaway that goes through like Canada for the ships to get from the ocean to the mainland and stuff. They have like this whole series of lakes and rivers and man-made canals, and it's called the St. Lawrence Seaway system, right? It starts out east and it goes through Quebec into Ontario and to the Great Lakes.
Wow.
So Tuddles, let me ask this then. What do you consider a fairy tale and what do you consider a fable? And do you consider Bigfoot to be I'm assuming Bigfoot would probably be a fable.
Definitely not a fairy tale, but when you go through Canadian history and you look at all the old native totem poles throughout history, a lot of the Canadian totem poles, the base of them all were Bigfoot.
I'm going to have to
They called them the tall ones or something like that. I'd have to look it back up what they call them. It was something like the tall ones.
This is weird that we should be talking about this. I did a show last 2 weekends ago with Strange Brew Podcast. They're a Canadian group of guys, and I've actually sent them the link for tonight's show. Do you listen to them?
Doug McKenzie.
Is it? No, well.
No. That's where they got their name from, Bob and Doug McKenzie. It was a movie that was made in around 1980 called Strange Brew. It was a Canadian movie about these two brothers. Yeah, it was a good movie.
That was a good show. So
yeah.
No.
Well, these couple of guys invited me on to talk about the Loch Ness Monster because I'm from Scotland and they like that kind of thing, the Bigfoot and the Chupacabra, like the more folklore, tale-y kind of stuff. So whereas I'm more into like the occult and the way the world is really run and all that. But it was a really fun show, so you should check them out. And I'm sure if they are listening, because I sent them the link when we hit live tonight, so they might be in the chat. They'll probably be reaching out to you soon saying, come on our show.
I've done a
Yeah.
Bigfoot episode in my previous life. I've done the Dilatov Pass incident, which also does tie into Bigfoot. I've done aliens, the Titanic,
Awesome.
that type of
Mhm.
stuff as well.
So
Yeah.
again, this chat was supposed to see where it takes us. So aliens. Um, when you see aliens, most people see the head and the two eyes and that's it. Do you believe that there really are people walking around in outer space or walking around somewhere or
I believe we'd have to be very self-absorbed if we didn't think there was something else out there somewhere else.
okay. All right.
The universe is too vast for there not to be something out there.
Do
I'm
you
not
think
saying whether they're here, whether they're not here, whether they're hiding with fake masks like they live or anything like that, but
Mhm.
I think I don't know. I
Mhm.
know that there's got to be something somewhere. We
so
can't be it.
do you think there are aliens like in Independence Day where they can come and attack Earth or something like that? That there is this other life form that very well could be well developed somewhere? Because humans think that, we're like, excuse my French, but the shit, whatever. And so that's what I'm saying. I mean, there could be something else out there that is more the shit than we are. They can come down and do
Yeah,
whatever. So do you think that is possible, that an
it's
Independence Day could
plausible.
happen?
It's
Okay.
definitely plausible.
Okay.
Like by the point that our Earth is so fucked, we're going to be trying to go anywhere to get away from it to get to somewhere healthier, right? Say their
Mhm.
situation's pretty bad and our planet's better than theirs. Why wouldn't they? Like, you guys do have the Space Force down there in the States.
Hmm. This is true. This is true. So Bob, what is your take? Do you think that there's aliens that are out there?
I am self-absorbed, so no. But no, I'm not a hard no. I At this moment in time, I believe that certainly the scaremongering around what you just asked about, is there aliens out there that can one day come down and attack us? That stuff I don't believe in. I think all the UFO sightings that we see are the government's messing around with the technology that only they have and only they know about. They're just trolling us with that stuff. But I'm also not close-minded to think that there could be interdimensional beings. Not, I wouldn't say it's green men on Mars or any other planet. I don't believe in that, but I think that there are. I've heard a little bit over the last 5 or 6 years now and again about like different frequencies and wavelengths and like I always reference Rick and Morty because it's the easiest way to describe it. But
Yep,
where
for sure.
on even like on a radio, if you switch to a different frequency, you can pick up different sounds. That's what I mean by on the human level. There could be someone sat right next to me right now. There could be someone right there in a different reality. And I've also heard my tattoo artist. I was sat there obviously for 3 hours getting my sleeve done, and she was talking about having her house possessed, and she got a medium to come in, and he went up into the room in question, and instantly saw this being and asked the being to leave, and the being says, "Leave? I live here. You leave." And it's
Yeah.
like it was so clear. And this is what I mean. In a different dimension, someone's living in this house as well with me, but it's just in a different dimension. So I don't believe in the aliens as in like the green men that we see in those films, or people like an alien being in a different planet. But I do think there's alternative dimensions and things. Yeah.
Well,
So
that's one of the theories for Bigfoot too, that he pops in and out of our dimension. And that's
Yeah.
why people see him, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Because a lot of
Mhm.
times when people see Bigfoot, they'll actually see they different people explain it differently, but it's like you see it and you get so scared they feel like they white it out, and then all of a sudden the Bigfoot's not there anymore. Then you have the other people saying like that's actually him flashing in and out of the dimension. You're not actually whiting out. That's just like
Mhm.
he's there and then poof, he's not. But
Mhm.
in your brain, it's like the fainting feeling. You know what I mean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's lots of different theories on that too. And anybody who believes in ghosts has got to believe in Interstellar type of different realms and stuff for sure.
Well, that was one of my questions, but now I'm going to ask: do you guys believe there's a such thing as a wormhole?
Yeah, and it's in Iraq.
Yeah. Oh, you're being serious. I was
I
waiting for a
am.
joke.
I am being serious. I mean, do you believe that it is possible to walk, you fall through a wormhole or whatever and you're like in the same place but at a different time?
They're my answer is just going on something I seen in one place. I'm not saying that specifically. I was just more throwing it out there or whatever. But there's actually things saying that a lot of what the United States government was protecting in Iraq was actually like an interstellar wormhole. But
Okay.
that's just a different theory somebody had
Yeah.
somewhere.
I've never heard that theory, but again, I think that kind of stuff does lead into what I was just saying, like dimensional things, and I even put it down to something that could be more achievable. Is you've maybe heard about people who take this type of yoga or can do outer body experience stuff, or like the monks who
Yep.
fast and they can achieve a different state of consciousness. And I think that is something that definitely our food, the processed food and all that can. I don't know if you've ever heard about this, Solid, but in our brains we have a pineal gland, and
Hmm.
The
that's the
third
key
eye.
to the third eye. Yeah, and there's actually a lot of symbology in Catholicism, in the churches, in the buildings about the pineal gland. And I believe, and this is not something that I've dug into deep, but over my journey, I've heard lots about how we're intoxicating our bodies with like sugar and processed and GMOs and things, and it's calcifying our pineal gland. And if we were to detoxify our bodies and live healthily and look after our bodies properly, our pineal gland gets better and stronger, and we can then achieve outer body experiences or do things that human. It just seems weird. It seems that, oh, that's impossible, but the impossible becomes the possible when we look after our bodies. It's
When you're getting
yeah.
into that stuff, you really got to pay attention to when you're falling asleep, because that point of falling asleep to being awake is sort of your peak
Mhm.
point for experience and anything like that.
Yeah. There are drugs that seem they can help. DMT. I don't know if this is true or not. This is just Joe Rogan and that, but there's drugs that. This is how crazy it is. A frog. There's a certain type of frog that you can scrape its skin against your hand, and the oil or the sweat from the frog leaves a powder residue. And these people, I don't know if they smoke it or they inject it or they sniff it. I don't know, but it helps them achieve this dimensional state where whenever you take drugs. Now, I've never taken much drugs, but if 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 people take drugs in the same room, they're all having different trips. Some people will see
Mhm.
dragons, some people will see ghosts. Like it's like weird, different things. But with
Yeah.
this stuff, everyone has the same trip, and it's like interdimensional beings, and they're all working away. They're little worker men or women, and they come up to you and they go, "It's okay, you'll be fine." They talk to you, and it's like that kind of stuff intrigues me. But again, not enough to go digging deep into it or trying it. But I know it's out there. This is a real belief out there.
Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson, I think, were talking about that on his
Yeah,
podcast, but I don't really listen to the Joe Rogan podcast anymore.
yeah. Not me neither.
So then, do you guys believe, I mean, going back to the whole ghost thing then, do you believe that right now there's a spirit or ghost sitting right next to us?
Could be.
My wife would say yes, but me, no.
So
No.
when things happen around your house, like if something for whatever reason or for no reason falls off its shelf or it falls whatever, do you just, like some people say, oh, it's just the house, it's just settling. You hear people saying that, but do you believe that it could be somebody trying to get your attention or
No.
okay,
My wife's right into that type of stuff, but me, no,
Mhm.
not
okay,
personally, no.
Yeah, I've never really been into that stuff. I think when I was younger, my mother was into like getting her cards read, and the tarot card and all that, and going to see a fortune teller, and I hated it. I didn't like that. I thought it was interfering, and not that I didn't think it was true or anything. I just thought that stuff should be left alone. It sounded a bit scary to me, and stuff that you shouldn't meddle in. And
Yeah.
I think that stuck with me, that through later life I am a conspiracy theorist, but I don't go down the routes of what happens after death, what are ghosts, what are aliens. Like, to me, I'm not there yet, and I'm not saying I'm closed off to it. I might one day look into it, because I know that stuff sells. Like, if I did a podcast on aliens, it'll probably get the most views because it just does. I think people are obsessed with the thought of little green men observing us in
Yeah.
all these films that they put out. But to me, I'm still learning about the way our world runs, and who really runs it, and it's kind of got that same feeling as when people watch a documentary on Jeffrey Dahmer or
Yep.
a serial killer. Is the same feeling I get from finding out about the Rothschild family or the Rockefellers, or what the plan is for the world going forward. I get that feeling as well.
I have
So
a problem, Solid Blue Sister. My back teeth are floating right now. I don't know if you're familiar with what that term means.
I
He needs
don't
to
know
nip
what
to
that.
the loo.
I got
Oh,
pee.
well,
There you
go,
Yeah.
go,
Okay, I'll be back in a minute, all right?
go.
It's
Okay.
okay.
I
You
don't.
never heard that?
I've never heard that term before. I
No.
have never heard that term. My
Yeah.
back teeth are
I,
floating.
I don't know why. I don't. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why. There must be a reason, but I've heard that quite a lot.
I
Yeah.
thought he was going to say something like, he had to go to the dentist or
Okay.
something. I've never heard
Yeah.
that term.
Do we have anyone in the chat that might want to come on in a couple of minutes' time?
Yeah, does
We're an
anybody
hour in.
on the chat want to come and join us?
Mm-hmm. Beans and Weenie. I see. Scooter, is it, or is it
We can.
Spanky?
I can put a link in the chat there if somebody wants to pop on.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep it clean,
Mm-hmm.
even though I did say the word shit.
Yes.
Roxy says that it's a popular phrase here. I've never heard that. So, Roxy, had you heard that before you moved there? Because I've never heard that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And that's interesting too. How you see from place to place, people call things different things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So nobody wants to pop on. Okay, let us know.
Yeah.
Nope. I heard it first in a TV show called Still Game.
Oh yeah. That's our favorite show. It's just a sitcom. It's a bit like Friends, series thing, and
I've never heard that show before. Okay.
it's. I don't think you would understand it. The thick Glasgow accent is. It's hard. But when I knew that my wife was going to come and join me here in Glasgow, I said to her, "Sit down and watch this show," and it helped her get to know the type of the culture, the culture of the Scottish people. So she gets a lot of references now. And why we are the way we are. It's just little mannerisms that you can pick up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, the let's see, we have, what is this over here? Uh-oh, sorry. Oh, that was this. Okay. Nope, I was not going to. That's why I asked. Okay.
What?
What the question that I asked, yeah. So, I do want to talk more about this ghost stuff, because I believe in like spirits and ghosts. I do believe that people.
Have you ever had an encounter with a ghost or anything like that?
I've never had an encounter with one, but I do believe people have. I do believe people have and do talk to me. Like, I think that my father talks to me, because I talk to him a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm just, it's like I'm talking out loud and I'm just talking to him,
Mhm.
and then certain things will happen. And it'll
Mhm.
be like things that he used to do or things that he used to say, or I'll kind of hear something in my ear. If I'm going to say something to someone or do something, I'll hear a little thing in my ear. So I don't know if it's just me suggesting it, whatever. But
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's like I always feel that he's here.
Mhm.
So, and then I have another friend who was a really, really good friend who ended up uh um passing away. Um he was robbed on the way home from work, and they pushed him on the third rail of the train, whatever. And the two of us were like this. I mean, it was like you didn't see one without the other, whatever.
Mhm.
And even now, you know 25 years later, I still, can feel him, or he'll, or out, or something will happen. I'm like, was he here? So I mean,
Mhm.
I do believe that things like that happen. I do believe
Mhm.
that people, I don't know if you want to call them ghosts or spirits. I think ghosts and a spirit are pretty much the same thing. But I do believe that there is a presence
Mhm.
that is there. And I think it could either be evil or it could be good.
Mhm.
My theory on that is there's two types of people in this world. Um, and just because I say this doesn't mean you're evil. There's white people, and then there's dark people. People who are white people don't see spirits and stuff like that because they're more in tune with like the good things in the nature and the sky and stuff like that. And then you have the dark people who are more in tune with the down below thing. Now I don't know if it's because of like, I don't know, people die and they come back and stuff like that, maybe different traumatic situations, but I think there's two different types of people. And I think the darker people are the people who are more in tune with the ghosts and the spirits and stuff. Because
Mhm.
I've seen people like, I don't even want to get into the situation, but there was a situation that happened a couple days ago, and it literally induced anxiety attack on two people, and one of those people was myself. And so, sensitive to the dark arts as a light person, if that makes sense. And as far as I'm concerned, all the tarot reading and ghost hunting and stuff like that, yes, it's entertaining and it's kind of neat and all that good stuff. And I do believe possibly Sasquatch could be interstellar or whatever. But I think you have two different types of people. You have like a white light person and a dark light person. And the dark light people are the people that are more in tune with being able to read. But like I said, doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people. Like Crazy Lady can do tarot and stuff, but she's a friggin' awesome person.
Mhm.
It's in your sort of your DNA, your soul.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.
do you believe that? Now I feel like we're about to do one of your shows. Do you believe that um, the existence of heaven and hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I know I'm going to heaven because I don't I always say I believe in God, believe in heaven, hell, all that stuff. I don't believe in churches. Organized religion is the worst thing that happened to this world. There's been nothing to kill more people than organized religion. No plague, no war, no nothing. But I'm a spiritual person. And I believe I'm one of the, like sort of white enlightened type people, like that's more in tune with the positive vibrations in the world instead of the darker vibrations in the world.
Well, I think that for the most part, everyone is headed to heaven unless you do something that is just so um, shameful that you just that there's just like no way that whoever you determine God is, that he's just going to say, he or she will just
Sinning
say
on
no.
Saturday and praying on Sunday doesn't get you a ticket into heaven, as far as
No,
I'm concerned.
no, no, it doesn't. And we have a lot of people, millions of people who go to church on Sunday. Yeah, and it's funny because my dad, growing up, we went to a Lutheran school, and part of the thing was you had to make sure you come to church on Sunday. It was, if you want percentage off of your tuition. You had to go to church, so we all went to church. But my father would never go, and my mother would get so upset, and he would say, "Why?" He goes, "I'm a good person. I don't have to show up in church." And he says, "Besides, everyone who's showing up in church, they're going to be talking about each other on Monday. And in fact, they'll be talking about each other as soon as they get out of church. So
Mm-hmm.
why should I go?" And like you said, that makes sense. So
Mhm.
I think that we're all headed up unless you do something that, like, I'm sorry, but nope, can't
Well, I
come.
don't want to turn this into a church bashing show. Everybody does their thing, but just in modern history that prove that churches are just whatever's. Like going to church 3 years ago in Canada, drugs are the evil, weed is the devil, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden weed's legal in Canada, and now all these churches they're supporting it. Like you can't change your stance like that just because the government said that this green plant is
Yeah.
legal now.
That's
That's
true.
just
Mhm.
hypocritical. That's just a modern example of it. And there's thousands of examples of it. Gay
But
marriage. I'm not going to get on that topic right now, but look at all the changes and stances on that stuff.
but
Two
that's
people
Yeah.
want
with
to be happy, they're happy. I don't give a shit. You can do what you want. I just mean the churches were so dead set against it. As soon as all these new laws started coming in, people were allowed to get married to each other. All of a sudden,
Mhm.
churches are all fucking cool with it.
but that's with everything. With everything you have where people are going to say no, 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 or yes, 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 and then when the masses start to go towards one particular thing, then other people will
Mhm.
join in. So that's with everything,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so but
Yeah, that's been one of my gripes with, again, the last couple of years, where religious people have been the ones that I've looked to, and I'm not religious at all, but I've looked towards them to go, let's see their reaction to COVID, and because of their beliefs and what the Bible teaches them, they should have been the ones standing strong the most, and they weren't. And that's, just what Tuddles has said about, the gay marriage, and then the drugs. It's like they're very flimsy, and it's not everyone, but it does seem that the churches, the organized religion, the pastors, whatever, seem to be going with the flow, and that's not how that should be. So I admire, people who want to follow a religion and follow it to a T, but if they're not, then that's when I kind of lose a little bit of respect for that. Yeah.
Well, I know that I'm a better Christian than most of the people I went to church with 10 years ago when I was going to a Christian church because I knew what they did on their private time when
yeah,
they weren't in front of the pastor.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I know I
yeah.
wasn't doing a lot of these things. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. Everybody's leading their own path. But I just know what I did versus what they did. And I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, I mean, but once again, that's with everything. It's like, we have people making laws, but yet behind closed doors, they're doing the
Breaking
same
them.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
career politicians got to start leading by example.
well, do as I say, not as I do. So
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
but
Exactly.
I don't know. But Bob, did you have anything else, or does anybody else last call? Does anybody want to jump on? We always invite people to pop on towards the last part of the show. Anybody want to jump on?
If nobody
Scooter.
has anything to add, I have a groundbreaking question to ask you, Solid Blue Sister.
Okay, groundbreaking. Uh-oh. Okay.
Ground shaking, groundbreaking, and it's a whole episode on its own, to be honest.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were giving people the chance to chime in.
We asked. Oh, on you go.
I know your thoughts on the Bible and the Garden of Eden, but I also know your thoughts on the discovery of the first person to be in Africa. Do you think the Garden of Eden was in Africa?
Yes, because I do believe that um the I believe that creation started on the African continent.
Yep.
So that's why I think it's funny when people say certain things. It's like, y'all are from here. And usually, if you go back and you trace your roots, you will find, and like I always like to say, you'll trip over one of us. So, but
Yep.
I do believe that um, Adam and Eve um, were people of color. And even Jesus, in the Bible, they say that, his hair was like wool, and, and they talk about his skin and everything. But I do believe that creation started, that if you want to talk about the Garden of the Garden of Eden, it was on the continent of Africa.
Yeah, that's been bugging me for 3 weeks. I just been trying to find an opportunity to, throw it out there. But when we're talking about shaved head or shaved balls, it's like that wasn't quite the right moment. So I figured since this is an open forum and whatever, I could ask you here because it's been, I just been curious on that one.
So, I mean,
It-
do you disagree, or you just
No,
want to
not at
just
all.
know?
Not at
Okay,
all. Not at all.
okay.
It's funny. The head of the Church of Creationism, which was one of the biggest white supremacist organizations in the United States, he was on the Maury Povich show around 1996, and they gave him one of them DNA tests, and they found out he was 32% black.
Well, and that's interesting because I want to say that same guy was on Oprah.
Oh, he did
And
the whole show scene and
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, and whenever the DNA things pop up, and that's why I say when you do your DNA, you will see that everybody is black. I mean, everybody has, like I said, you're gonna trip over one of us. And as much
Yeah.
as people gonna say, "Oh, no, no, no," well, yeah, you are. So and that's another reason why it fascinated me with that show, because it was going in different directions and people had different ideas, and that's why I brought up the whole thing about, do you think dinosaurs and the cavemen, whatever, because that all plays into it, so
Yeah.
but yeah, so
Yeah. Once you get into a cellular level, that's it is what it is. Like I watched this one documentary and then I participated in this one conversation over if you drink a glass of water right now, you're drinking Napoleon's DNA. Because Napoleon had to piss somewhere. That piss had to run into somebody's water. Molecularly, water spreads
right,
everywhere around the world eventually. Stuff goes up, rain comes down. If you took a drop of water, it would have everybody's DNA that's ever lived in history in it.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was a really neat show. If I found it, I think Bob would like it. But
yeah,
it,
you know
that that's something I do want to get more into, is having that Lilith and Adam and Eve show that you guys did. That was right up my street for when I do eventually want to go diving into our creation story. That's where I would start with the Bible, because I've said before plenty of times, when you get into conspiracies and you really do get into them, you find that the guys that have been doing it a long time, and they've really, this is my opinion, when you really get into it and you look into who runs the world and all that, there's a few things that you end up believing in. And one of them is that the Bible is the written word. That's the true story of, and God is the only way. It's, they all become religious, and there are other similarities as well. But that's what intrigues me, because obviously for a lot of people, the red pill moment was when they woke up and realized that there's people believing in Islam and people believing in Buddhism. So how do I know I'm right? That's one I've heard a lot. I think it was Eddie Bravo, Joe Rogan's friend, said that was his red pill moment when he got to the age of 14, 15, and he found out about other religions and was like, wait a minute, I thought we were right. How do you know
yeah,
we're right and you guys are wrong? So for me, the Big Bang Theory is the worst theory I've ever heard in my life. I think that is, people think I'm crazy for believing in flat Earth. If you believe in the Big Bang Theory, I think that tops the lot. I think it's the most craziest theory out there. So I am a creationist, but I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that we were created in 7 days and Adam and Eve. I don't think I believe in that. Noah's Ark, Moses, those kind of stories I think are more fables, like stories with meanings. Is that what a fable is? When a
Yeah,
story has a
basically,
meaning.
yeah.
Yeah, but at the
Yeah.
same time, though, when you look at the Bible, and because I have my faith. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect, But when you look at the Bible, especially the Old Testament, there are just things in there that just make sense. And if you look at Moses, whether or not you believe Moses parted the Red Sea and what have you, but you look at a lot of the kings and queens and the pharaohs and stuff, they all came from one place. And um I do believe that somewhere Moses is buried, you know, in a place where God refused to let anyone know. I do believe that. I mean, I do believe that the Bible is a guide for how we should live. And when you go to the when Jesus came, I do believe that we are coming from what the Bible says, and I think we are here. And on your show, I think it was Pine who was talking about it. Who's
Yep.
the Antichrist? Whatever. I believe, you know, I believe that. I believe that the Antichrist has shown their face, and they said that you will know his followers by the mark on their forehead. And I'm not going to say what I think that mark is, but I think a lot of people are walking around with that mark. So I do believe that. I do believe that we very well possibly could be coming to the end of the world, and I think that I may be one of those people who experience it.
Well, I said before, I believe in creationism, but also evolution, because I think when you created, you're always evolving. Like they found in the last 10 years, kids are born with an extra bone in the back of their neck because kids are used to looking down at computers and stuff. Now you actually have a new bone that's been forming in the back of people's necks that hadn't been there historically. So even though I believe in creationism, there's always an evolution.
I think, well, I've heard that as well, and I would say the difference between that is it's adaptation, not evolution. I think it's like the example I heard was there's an African tribe that spend a lot of their lives in water, like fishing. So they're up to their knees in water pretty much all day looking for fish, and a lot of their babies end up with webbed feet. Now that's not evolution; that's just adaptation. It's
Yeah.
like because not everyone gets webbed feet. It's just, I know it's maybe not a great analogy, but I know I have heard that before, and that's what I would say.
Well, then, okay, so then I have to come back to dinosaurs and cavemen. Do you believe, that there were cavemen? Some people don't believe that dinosaurs really did walk the earth, you know?
I believe there's still cavemen on the earth. Not everybody's at the same mental state of mind.
Okay. All right. All right.
I'm not too clued up with the cavemen and all that, but dinosaurs, no. I think again, when I say these things online, I know people will be like, "Oh," but I'm not closed minded on them. If someone wants to send me something, I'll watch it. But to this point, from what I've learned, dinosaurs is a hoax.
So you don't think that a
And
lion or a tiger, whatever, could have been one of those what was it, saber tooth tigers, or
no,
like the elephant came from the woolly
mammoth,
yeah. So
no,
I,
no.
okay.
Um, I was going to say something there. Yeah, I thought the people believed in the Bible and God didn't believe in dinosaurs. I thought that was one of the main things that.
No, in modern church, dinosaurs are accepted now. There's a whole proven story
Oh,
about it behind it. You know. I
is
don't
that
want to
one
get
of
into it.
the
Yeah.
hypocritical things like the that you were mentioning
They,
earlier, or is that
yeah, the churches have actually included dinosaurs on the Noah's Ark now.
the wow?
Yeah, I
That's
watched a
interesting. I have not.
3-hour lecture on that the other day.
Hmm.
Is that on YouTube by chance?
Yep.
I am going to have to watch that because I am fascinated with dinosaurs being on Earth. Because I do struggle with, if they were on Earth, then were they here before Adam and Eve? If supposedly Adam and Eve were supposed to be the first ones, were they here after? After the Great Flood, with Noah's Ark, whatever, and then dinosaurs came. So it's like,
Dinosauria was invented in the 1800s. It was a theory that came out in the 1800s, and it was called Dinosauria. And the very first dinosaur is a hilarious name that has the word phallus at the start of it. It's phallosaurus or something like that, or Dickosaurus, or yeah, it's like a word that means penis, and
okay,
that's a sure sign that it was a Freemason theory, because they like to include the phallus in
A lot of the
a lot of things.
dinosaurs you see in museums are actually made a half an hour from me in Beamsville, Ontario.
Yeah.
What they do is they'll find the bone at the excavation sites. They map out how big they think the dinosaur is going to be on based on these like few bones that they find. They make the big full size dinosaurs and they ship them to the museums. It's in
Yeah.
Beamsville. It's like a half an hour from my house.
well, but I am going to tease you for one quick moment because
Yeah, that's fine.
I when you just said it, I thought about Kimberly Michael,
Mhm.
because when you just said the word penis, your voice lowered a little bit,
Did
and
it?
she just popped in my head because she would have just came out and said it. So I just thought
Yeah.
I'd throw that in there. So, but other
Yeah.
than that, I mean, Tuddles, again, you have been someone who I have to say, like you said, you were my very first show on Podbean. Tuddles
Me
was
and
there.
Caps.
Yeah.
All right.
Or Caps and I, sorry.
Yes, and you guys were there, but Tuddles, you have, I mean, from you have stuck with me, and I appreciate it so much. And like I said, you've turned into a Chill Will 2.0, where he can kind of lower the temperature. You're like, okay, this is another show, so he's become that person, whatever. But yeah, I am glad that we finally get a chance to meet,
Yeah.
face to
Mhm.
face. So
Yeah, absolutely. And Bahram, Bahram. You know what, dude? You look just like my cousin David. I swear to God, you guys could
Yeah.
be twins. No kidding. You can't tell now because my head's shaved, but
Mhm.
when my hair's like long,
Yeah.
I get red highlights. But a lot of my
Yeah.
cousins are pure redheads, and
Yeah.
4 of my kids are pure redheads.
okay,
Awesome.
all
Because
right,
my wife's also a ginger,
okay,
Awesome. That's cool.
hey,
and my mother was actually born in Ireland, but her
Mhm.
father was born in Scotland, but he got kicked out for some reason and had to move to Ireland. So
Mhm.
I consider myself Irish because that's where my mom was born, but my roots are
Mhm.
actually in Scotland.
okay.
Awesome. That explains the red hair then.
I had not heard the term ginger until Bob
Yeah.
said it. I just
Oh,
said red.
really?
Yeah, I just always said they're red.
Mhm.
Redhead. So
I'll,
and
I'll
and
have to
Bob.
find I'll have to find the ginger song and send it to your email. You'll laugh your
Yeah.
butt off.
All right. And then, Bob, I have to say to you, you surprised me when we first met, face to face, so to speak,
Mhm.
because when you were coming on the show, I thought you were a lot older, and Shy Lady and I were going, "How old do you think he is?" I'm like, "I don't know, maybe in his 50s or maybe 60s." I did. I thought that you were older,
Yeah.
and now that we've been talking, okay, your voice has
Mhm.
gotten a lot younger, because I see you, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you would come on and everything, I thought you were like in your 50s or 60s.
Well, I'll take it. I don't mind the voice sounding old. It's just getting old itself. I don't. I want to be a Peter Pan.
You have to take age with, age is nothing but a number. It's all how you feel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I'm gonna
know.
be 46 in July, and it's getting scary because it's close to 50, and this is all
Mm.
white now.
So okay, so
Okay.
let me ask. So did you freak out when you turned 40?
No, I freaked out when I turned 41.
Okay.
So
Because when you
by
turn 40, you're just out of your 30s, but as soon as you're 41, you're locked into your 40s.
30 for me was the big one, and I think after that, I don't think anything can hurt as much. 30 has to be the biggest one, because the 20s is like the goal. Like everyone wants to be in their 20s, and then when you hit that 30, it's like I'm actually an adult now. Like I have to settle down and behave. So I cried myself that day. I locked myself in my room and just nah, I didn't.
so
But I
so
wanted to.
so you think you'll be okay then when you turn 40?
Yeah, I think you're more accepting then. But again, I'm one of those. I don't want to celebrate birthdays. It should just be another day. I think I'm fine going to work and coming home and getting a piece of cake, and way it's another day. Like to me, I don't like celebrating. I'm a bit like my granddad. He was the same. Didn't want to celebrate his birthdays.
When I was in my 20s and stuff, my birthday, my sister would always joke around because my birthday would last like 2 weeks. Like
Yeah,
there'd be a big motorcycle race coming up. Oh, we gotta go because it's right around my
yeah,
birthday time. Or hey, there's
yeah,
this movie coming out, The Drive-In. It's right around my birthday time, so we'll call it. So we end up doing like 4 or 5, 6 things over a 2-week period, just because I always say, hey, it's my birthday
yeah,
time. It was just an excuse to get to hang out with my friends and family. But
yeah.
so
You
my
sound
sister always
like
joked,
you
yeah.
sound like my wife, who's listening in the chat.
I just like excuses to get my tribe together. You know what I mean? I like it when I
Yeah,
love it. Like I
yeah,
do pre-COVID, I'm the cook for the whole family. We get like 30, 40 people at my house. I do the turkey and all the
mm,
everything. I do Thanksgiving dinner for everybody. Birthday parties, always at my house. I'll make taco extravaganza, a big pile of freaking tacos,
awesome.
or depending on whose it is, what they want, like
So
fish
Mm,
so Tuddles,
fries.
then let me ask, because we talked about this on one of my shows. So if your children want to move away from home, either leave and go to the US or wherever, or are you going to be one of those parents who want to keep them close? And I ask that because you just said about family and your tribe and what have you. So,
As much as my inner gut is like, my son, my oldest son, he's 22 now. He was a rower, so he had opportunities to go like down to the States for a while to row. Or um, when I first got divorced, my wife met this guy, and his family's from BC, so he would go to British Columbia for like 2 months in the summertime. I've never been one to hold somebody back from an adventure. I'll miss them like crazy. But if that's your journey, that's your adventure, I'd never put a pebble in the way.
okay. All
It
right.
would hurts, but I'd never stop anybody from doing their thing.
Well,
mm,
that is good to know. That is good to know. The only regret that I have about moving far away from home is that when my parents passed, I wasn't there. But then again, at the same time, if I were still living there, like my sister got the call, but he was already gone. So either way, they would have been gone.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it's not like he was in the hospital or something like that. And then when my mom passed again, you know, um, I got the call, and if I were living there, somebody would have had to call me because I know I wouldn't have been there. So, but I do believe that parents should not stand in the way of their children going off and doing whatever. And that's
yep,
one thing that I am glad about, that my parents were always like, if it doesn't work out, you can always come home.
yeah.
mm.
That's what my son did when COVID happened. It sort of messed up his life. He's been living in my basement ever since.
And now you have some parents who are living in their kids' um, basements
My
or
turn.
sheds or
Yeah,
whatever. So yeah,
yeah.
but
There's nothing wrong with that either, too. Like in my area, we have a lot of people like Asian families. So like, I hope it doesn't sound like I'm stereotyping, but like they'll have like three close families living in one house. And it just helps because your bills are cheaper, your food's cheaper. There's always somebody there to help out. It takes a village to raise a child kind of theory. And I don't
Yep.
think that's a bad idea, like the way they do it. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know. But
I've
and
thought about that myself a lot, especially the last 2 years. Again, it's made me reevaluate a lot of things. But it's like if we were living in a house with a bigger family, like parents and other a big household, it would be a lot easier. Everyone would be chipping in. Bills would be cheaper, as you say. Food shortages, like that's a worry. So we could all. I just think it would be. But then everyone's so used to their privacy and all that and
yeah, that's the thing too.
conflicts.
But
Yeah,
back in
yeah,
the old days, you had as many kids as you could to help you on the farm, to help you
Mhm.
through the
yeah,
winter,
hmm
and your daughters would move out as they got married, or your sons.
yeah,
But usually, even at that point, you got 10 acres, you're giving them 2 acres, and they're still close.
hmm
But
But also back then, they also had it where you can't get married before your older sister or older brother does. Like there
yeah,
was a
yeah,
pecking order. There
the
was a
pecking
pecking
order,
order,
yeah.
like, but I love him. Nope, sorry. You can't get married because,
wow,
yeah, because your older sister is not married yet, or your older brother's not married. It's like it was a pecking order, which really sucked for the youngest because the youngest was usually the one stuck at home taking care of mom and dad. And they're the ones who, well, I want to be able to do this and this and this. Nope, sorry, whatever. And which I thought was wrong because they missed out so much in their life, and they were always usually the youngest ones were always made to feel guilty after everyone else is gone. They're like, well, mom still needs you or dad still
hmm
needs you. Well, I want to get married or I want to do this. And, so
yeah.
I don't know. Hey, Miss Dina, how are you?
Tina Joe, hi Pebbles.
Hey, Dina.
You're coming in towards the end. We are about to wrap up, but welcome. So again, does anybody want to pop on really quick? Anybody? It's funny when we did the show with uh the spirituality show.
hmm
Yeah, Saba, she really wanted
I
to
know,
come on.
I
She
know.
that show was right up her it was right up her alley. So she popped on. Hi, Bam Bam. Oh, isn't that
Hi, Dina.
cute? So we have Puddles and Bam Bam or Tuddles and Bam. But I am not Fred, so y'all better not call me Fred.
No.
She calls me Bam Bam because I call her Pebbles. She
Okay,
sent a
okay. I
Oh,
picture
thought
one
she
time
was.
to
I
okay.
remind
thought
me
she
of
was talking about
Pebbles.
Bob. Okay.
So then I sent a little clip, like a GIF or whatever. Anyways, it's a long story. So I
Okay.
started calling her Pebbles, and then she started calling me Bam Bam as a rebuttal.
Awesome.
Not a problem, Miss Dina. Not a problem. And Dina's another one that we're looking forward to whenever she gets the chance to pop on. So
hmm
yeah. So but Tuddles, thank you for giving up your Saturday and spending time away from your tribe.
hmm
But I do have one last question is when you're on my show sometimes and you pop on and off because you're cooking.
Yep.
So are you the designated cook? Like, does your wife cook at all, or you're the designated cook in the house?
Uh, I'm the designated cook for, I would say, 80% of the time. I do most of the cooking. I do the dish. No, I do the laundry. She does the dishes. We sort of just have our own little vibe. Like currently, right now, she's cooking because she's making Moroccan chicken. She just loves that
That
stuff.
sounds good.
I'm good at more of the steak and potato type meals, pastas and all that kind of stuff. When we do the cuisine from around the world, she grew up in Toronto with. My wife can cook or eat pretty much from any part of the world because of where she grew up. And so today it's Moroccan chicken, and she's doing it today. Plus, she knew I
Cool.
was going to
Awesome.
be on here too, so she didn't want me to be all stressed out.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you so much, Tunnels, for coming on.
Oh,
And
thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
no, thank you because again, we know that Saturdays, morning, evening, whatever. Plus, we have to try to coordinate with Bob because he's across the pond.
hmm
So. So,
Yeah.
but again, thank you so much.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for coming on. I always like to put a face to the name. You know, listening to Podbean for a couple of years and hearing these names come in and out of groups, and then you're one of the guys that I've always enjoyed listening to. You've always got something good to say,
mhm.
and you know it's you've definitely been a great guest tonight talking about some of my favorite subjects. So thanks
Yeah,
again, and
we'll have to get back
I
together for like mythical creatures.
yeah, will do, bud. Thank you.
And Tuddles, and one other thing is I can say you're always positive. I don't think I've ever heard you, even on Podbean, get upset.
I love everybody until I hate you. Then you have issues. It takes a lot.
Oh,
There's only
okay.
been two people of all of Podbeam that I've ever had true beef with, and they
Okay.
are no longer here. And I like to think it's partially because of me.
Okay. All right. All right.
But
Well,
when you're
everyone.
accusing my friends of stealing your credit cards, and I know my friend, and I know he's not stealing your credit card because why would he steal $250 off a credit card when he has a real good job? His wife's a teacher. He ain't gonna risk nothing for petty crap. People are just call another show for another day.
Okay. All right. Well, you and Dina says you are all awesome. Love you three. We'll listen to the beginning on download. Oh, and Dina, just so you know, you were missed yesterday. We missed your music segment uh yesterday on your show. So hopefully you'll be back on Monday with your music because I do like that. So I like it. I'm just letting y'all know I like it.
Oh, that's my favorite part of the old man
Yeah.
show. I love
Yeah.
Yeah.
the music segment. She
So
sends me
yeah.
down rabbit holes. What she does during the music segment usually sets the tone for my music listenings for the rest of the day.
See,
Oh,
see. So, all right. So we are going to end it. So thank you to Roxy, Dina, Beans and Weenie, Terror Destroyer. Who else is on here?
We had Hanny J on for at the beginning
Hanny.
too.
Yes, yes. I'm getting it up there. I'm scrolling up.
Oh,
Hanny
sorry.
J and Ralph William. Thank you guys for all listening and again spending your Saturday with us. So on that note, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and be careful because it is the holidays and people can be a little crazy. So take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
bye.